Hello there, good morning. My name is Rotimi Eitaya, and I'm excited to join you this morning on the Good Morning Education Show. This is our streaming studio all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa to the entire world. We're streaming today, and we're always excited to have you here. Sorry for the little break in transmission, and we believe that we're here and we're live, and we're going to have a fantastic time. So without wasting much time, let me just bring up my colleagues, our analysts, and our special guest today. And I'm going to be starting from Titi this morning. Good morning, Titi. How are you today?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. Good morning.
Joined by that, we're going to introduce Jude Ashedu, Dr. Jude, Prophet Jude. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Rotimi. Good morning, Titi.
Good
Some
morning.
volume, Jude, give me some volume. Give me some volume.
Good morning, Titi. Hello.
Awesome. And then, of course, we're going to introduce everyone. Welcome, Safety Chick.
Good morning.
Go Safety.
Mute. You're mute.
And One Woman Republic.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
All right, so let's welcome.
Good morning.
All right, fantastic. We're going to welcome KK in the building. She can't greet us. I'll tell you why.
Good morning, everybody.
I have a secret that she's keeping.
Hi, Titi. Hi.
Good morning.
Hi, Rochi. Mr. Rochi, I'm not saying good morning to you.
Should I expose her?
At the backstage, expose her at the backstage.
I should expose her at the backstage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, you are lucky today. And of course, it's a special Tuesday in the house and in the building. And the only condition I will not expose KK is if KK agrees to share the good news around.
You
mean
what
good
did you
food?
say?
I said she would think
you
about
mean good
it.
food?
KK was drinking. She was drinking wine behind the scene.
Oh my God. That's royalty, man. Royalty.
That's class, man. She has made too much money from her administrative course. She's just balling.
Yeah, balling.
There she goes again. She's going for another drink. Oh my God. All right. It's a special Tuesday, and we are excited to be joined once again by we call her Her Excellency, all the way from the city of Abuja, Federal Capital Territory. We are having the one and only lady that could bring together everyone from the continent for a summer camp. You've never seen that before, I'm sure. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mrs. Lola Aneke.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Lola. How are you?
Lola.
Safety Chic, KK, Mr. Rochi.
Lola. Okay. Also, let's welcome online ambassador of all the way from the United Arab Emirates. She's online this morning. Ifyok Ido Ikagu, welcome to the show. And Favor El Idogun, welcome to the show. Pamela, good morning as well. Thank you for joining. Okay, so I believe that we are set, and then let's just head over to the news, and we'll be discussing about the headlines today. Please pay attention to the headlines. If you're streaming with us, please do let us know your location wherever you are streaming from across the world. Tell us your location, share your comments with us, and if you do have questions, you must have questions. It's not an easy thing to get Lola Aneke in the studios in the morning and on a weekday. Trust me, is as good as getting gold in the market. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you pay attention to the headline news, and we'll be back. I'm going to be starting with Titi. Titi's smile is unusual, and I have a feeling that she just got some alert, or she's about to get an alert. There's a smile that comes with Titi's expectation of alert, or she just experienced alert.
Program is not alert.
No. I have
You
profiled
know what?
Titi for some months now. Trust me.
Rotimi, I
When money has
receive it.
entered, hey, Titi, those
I
couples,
receive it.
once money enters like this, Titi smile, you know, when you just start grinning like that, like, Titi, Allah, Titi, Allah.
You know what? I think Rotimi is a little prophet because 2 times he has actually said that on the show. After the show, I actually got alert. So Rotimi, just keep on declaring it. Just keep on declaring it. You know, I receive
Keep
it.
saying it. Keep saying it. Don't stop talking it.
Okay.
So that's what you get when you hang out with Jude. You know, so
Yeah.
Jude is behind the scene making those concussions. Yeah. All right. Over to the news very quickly. And we are back online. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. And it's a fantastic day to be alive. We're streaming all the way from Lagos, West Africa, Nigeria, before West Africa, all to the world. And we have Titi, Jude, Ugochi, KK, and of course, our special guest who does special things with special people, using special resources in a special way to deliver special results. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Lola Aneke. All right. So I saw Rhoda just a second, and she is back. Rhoda, welcome to the building. Rhoda, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Awesome,
Good morning.
fantastic.
Good morning, everyone. KK, Lola, and
Fantastic. So
Naked.
let's see.
How that you see that? Just do that.
Rhoda, can you see?
Lola.
Can you see the chats are here? Chats are here. Chats are here. Chats are here.
Cool.
Jude,
Wow.
Jude, let me spoil the show.
Yeah.
Jude,
Yeah.
your
yeah,
shirt is with Eben. Your mug is with Eben. Eben has your mug and your shirt.
I'm hunting him down. I'm hunting him down.
And the demand is you're not getting it until you show your face.
Nah, I'm going to.
Agree.
All right.
Rhoda,
Thank you all for joining. So let's have the headline now. So Titi, let's have your
I think the headline that caught my eye was Kano State to spend about 483 million sponsoring the NECO exams. I was like, So my first question will be, okay, remember an exam is, testing what people should have already learned. For me to spend that much on the test, I'm hoping that I'll spend so much more on the learning process. So that's my first question. I'm like, so how much have they spent on the learning process that they want to now spend this amount on the test? So if you've not invested in them learning, why do you want to invest in doing a check? So I'm just putting that out there. So I'm like, I'll leave it like that.
Titi, you're looking for trouble. You're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
And the truth is that it makes a lot of sense in the sense. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense to spend money on the learning than spending money on the testing, because if you calculate how much is per exam or per person per exam, it's almost very cheap, right? So if the students have not been learning, so why are you paying for the exams? I don't understand that.
Okay, so I kind of disagree. And the reason why I'm saying it is not because what you're saying is not correct. It is correct. In the big picture, what should we be really spending money on? Yes. But think about this. These are benchmark classes. These are classes that cannot be avoided. These kids have to write this exam anyway, except we're saying they're not going to write the exam. And so if they are going to transition, because these are NECO handles transition classes, right? Exit classes, in other words. So if that's going to happen, and a significant number of them cannot afford to take the exams, and they have to transition away. Now, there is a mapping back to that. If they're going to transition, and then there are other people who are going to have to go into those classes as well. Basically, funding has to happen for all of these things. I imagine that is a palliative of sorts, right? In trying to get this students to do the exams, transition them away nicely and go. I know that with governance, it's always a big deal. This money is, honestly, when you look at it, especially if they're spending it honestly, if it's an honest investment, there's no backdoor, corruption here and there, things like kinds of things. I don't see anything wrong with it. Because again, a lot of students cannot afford to pay for these exams. And this is the fact on the ground. So government has to serve that purpose in some way. To support the children and the families that are going to be transitioning their kids away from one stage of education to another. So that's my disagreement, not entirely on the premise of what both of you are saying. Totally 100% correct.
Okay. Rhoda, I think I still believe that.
I actually like the caveat if there is no backdoor to doing something else with them.
And if it's that they are going to pass, the pass mark will be large, or the people passing will be large, because if they are still going to fall back to, let me say, failing the exams, definitely we start hearing mass failure and all that. I think it's still an investment.
That happens regardless. It's not going to change.
I don't think they can.
They can't determine, the level of pass or fail at this time. I don't think the government has that.
They can't.
Anybody has that capacity.
They can't. But
it's either going to rain Fs or it's going to rain A's. Trust me.
A's.
It's going to rain F or it's going to rain A's, man. Trust me.
But there's a lot of learning beyond the sums, and that's the problem with summative learning. When that is summative assessment, when that is what we push forward all the time. We're looking more, but let's not go into that this morning. If not, we won't go into that.
But KK is a valid point. KK, that's a valid point. Because
I agree.
Was trying to hold on to is very valid. Because why do we want to fund an exit examination and not try? Maybe what we should be asking is what other things are they funding? I guess. But because that brings this question, raised eyebrows to a very valid place.
During this period that they've been at home, how were they preparing them? Were resources as the children could be getting learning at home so that they would be better positioned to actually pass this exam? They're going to be the best.
And I've not really heard anything from the north, especially from Kano. I've not really heard anything about how they support learning and all that. I'm always hearing it from the south, at least maybe Lagos and other parts. From the north, I've really not heard anything on how students were being supported from home.
Well,
I wish was also on special needs education and children like that, which is our topic for today. I'm looking forward to all that conversation.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Any other headline?
I think
Nobody saying anything. Titi, do you have any?
No, Lola is saying something. She was about to comment on the headline.
Yeah, so I picked the one on the MasterCard partnership with some organization. Yeah, I think that's a welcome development. Because the truth is that whether we like it or not, our banking sector, they're making quite a lot of money. So they should look into partnering with educational institutions to bring the best out of our educational system.
I agree. I thought that was any funding that comes into education, we really are grateful for. So thank you, MasterCard. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
And the last one there, I saw the prioritize female education, prioritize male and boys and girls education. Prioritize both of them. Prioritize both of them.
I saw that. I didn't want to tell you.
I teach boys and girls. I don't teach only boys. I don't teach only girls. And if we're pushing narrative,
I was expecting you, Jude, to say something.
After I've done my homework, I've done teaching boys and girls, then they go outside and the society start telling them one is more prioritized than the other, one education. No, it's not like that. We are teachers, so we should be balanced in the way we approach this gender equality thing.
Jude, can we just not talk about this today? Because
honestly, please, over to the main message of today, please.
Headlines are too deep today.
Jude will keep telling. He has 5 women on this program, and he wants to start this discussion.
You guys are the ones that teach the success principle that if you keep trying and keep trying and keep trying and don't stop, you keep trying and don't stop. One day, he will fight and run. Will live to fight another day and win.
Let me just drop this here. Jude reminds me of, there's Black Lives Matter and there's All Lives Matter. When someone rises up and says how all life matters, how the Black Lives Matter people just sit them down. That this is not the to be saying all lives matter. This is the time for us to be saying.
You are correct. I'm always a proponent of all lives matter, not black lives, not white lives. All lives matter.
Whole
The point is nobody's saying that, but when something happens, then they're just bringing a particular thing to the fore, and that's special needs. That's what we're talking about today. We're talking about special needs. We're not saying all needs are not special, but we're bringing a category of people to the forefront that to date have been neglected. We are pushing for their inclusion, and that's really what the whole idea is. I'm happy that we started this note and we use it to just swim into special needs today. All children are important, that's what we are saying. But today we have a special focus on special needs.
Special needs. I'm always
back to you. Back to you.
Okay, so let's just get started. And our conversation is going to start with the topic, special needs. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? And of course, we have the voice, the expert, and the face of special needs, as far as I'm concerned, within Africa. So let's just head back to Lola. And Lola, please tell us, what's the big deal when we talk about special needs? It seems like, at some point in time, people are just saying, what's all the fuss about?
Thank you so much, Mr. Rotimi. And I would like to explain, in answering your question, I'd like to explain what. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I'd like to explain what special needs is, the term special needs. Because a lot of people, when we talk about special needs, naturally, people have this look of, so much work, or probably children that are poor from poor socioeconomic background, or students who cannot learn. But in our inclusive, in our special education policy in Nigeria, special needs simply means those students who require assistance to be able to learn, to partake in education. And I think the two reasons why we have that is because of we're trying to avoid injustice when it comes to education. And then we're trying to ensure that all life matters, just like Jude said, is what I'm arguing about. So when we think about that, we need to look at them in like 4 categories. The out-of-school children, in the Northeast, we hear that a lot. And most times, like we talk about the Northeast because of what is, the data has said and all of that. We also have out-of-school children in every part of the world for several reasons. Then we have children students who are with disability. So we have those categories. We have the internally displaced because of several issues. And then we have the gifted and talented. Now we've come to realize that because of the way education is being put to us right from the onset, we have one way of doing things. So initially, and this also brings me to what we're going through right now, the pandemic and the new normal. We generally have a particular way of doing things. My little research and questions of students from schools, what do I call that now? Educational institutions, graduate of education, so to say, our College of Education. From my interaction with them, you realize that most of them, even students from special needs school of graduate schools, you realize that most of the times they are taught in a particular way. And that, like I said, that brought me to what we're going through right now. Everyone's clamoring for online schooling, hybrid learning, and we forget that there's certain categories of students that might not be able to benefit 100% from what we're asking for when it comes to learning. So why is it special? It's special because everyone matters. It is special because the Child Right Act says every child has a right to quality education. That's why special needs is special and it's important.
All right, thank you very much. And I know that our audience, they are already beaming with questions, but I know that on our own platform, we will have questions. People like Ugochi, they are ready to ask questions. People like Titi, they are ready to ask questions. And I'm definitely, absolutely, certainly sure that Rhoda is going to ask questions. So I'm going to take that order. I'm going to have to give Titi an opportunity to ask a question. I'm going to give Safety Chick an opportunity to ask a question. And then, of course, Rhoda, before I go back to KK and Jude. So Titi, as usual, over to you.
Okay.
I wanted to add something to what Lola said before we go into the questions, because I think it's important when it comes to. So I work in the inclusion space, And the reason why your question around what's the big deal is precisely because we are all the big deal. That's one. The second thing there is the fact that the traditional brick and mortar schooling system that we've built historically was not designed to accommodate all learning patterns, all children. And so it's a big deal because that injustice that Olola Aneke mentioned is what we have seen happen through the education system for many years as we have known it. So you enter into the classroom, you see a classroom that is not fit for purpose for all. And that's why, because everyone is important in this space, and we all live in one world. The world itself is inclusive. Nobody else, there are no human beings living somewhere else. And that's why it's a big deal. It's an inclusive world.
Thank you, Rhoda, for that. I was waiting for you to speak.
Rhoda, you said something. Rhoda, you said something about that we are all living in the world. No human being is living outside the world. Well, I don't know. X-Men and all those things.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Rotimi, please. Rotimi, we have lots of questions and we have only 30 minutes. Let's
this is injustice. This is injustice. Be inclusive. I'll allow my comment.
Okay. My first question, honestly, is when I think of special needs, I know that honestly, Lola, thank you for your book. Thank you very much. I was amazed to see the other categories that I never knew that they were considered as special needs. But when I talk of special needs, for me, I'm particularly referring to those that either have, how did you define it now? As physical impairment that require more resources from both the parents and the school. So my question is, if I take, cerebral palsy, for instance, or autism, it seems to require a bit more resources than what you typically have in. And that automatically means that the school fees for people that are special needs tends to be higher. So how can a parent manage this additional cost in terms of taking care of their children? So when I look at CP, for instance, you need a occupational therapist, you need a speech therapist, you need a physiotherapist. Then when you also come and look at it from the school perspective, in terms of, Rhoda has said it, that child facility requirement that the school needs to have to be able to accommodate these people in an inclusive school. So I don't know if my question is clear. My question is, how can so how can schools, parents accommodate these additional requirements, to be able to accommodate and include some categories of special needs?
Thank you so much, Kitty, for the question. That was a very valid one. When you talk about even CP and autism, it's a spectrum. So we have the mild, the moderate, and severe. So for any school to say, we're going to provide services for these children, they need to understand the specific services that the child will be requiring and the level of severity of the disability. That's one. Now, in providing services based on the financial resources, what other countries have done is, but like we all know, Nigeria is a peculiar nation. But the truth is that we all need to get up and be, like I always say, you need to be the change you want to see in the world. And I will give an example. As a parent, what other countries have done is they have some form of insurance scheme in place where, health insurance. So for example, in America, for autism, for you to get some of the services because of the financial implication, they have this health insurance. The insurance will take care of that because it's huge. And there's another disability that will not fall under insurance, health insurance to take care of. But the government also has some subsidy and all of that in place. And I know that that's one thing we could look at in Nigeria. But I mean, I can't speak for all insurance companies, but I know that they do life insurance, health insurance, but I'm not sure if they looked into some of these disabilities to see how they can provide support. So that's one way that can be tackled. Another way it can be tackled is parents. There are a lot of parent support forums where a lot of things are going on. The parents could come up with some kind of scheme like that where they support one another, but it's going to be on a regular basis. So whether you have a child with special needs or not, you can say that, okay, this is what we're going to be doing in this school. We raise fund all the time to be able to support individual parents or individuals with special needs or disability. Another thing we can do is also the schools. Look, schools for me, there are different reasons why people are schools, but ultimately I know that a lot of people do it because it's business. You know, you are looking for profits. But I would say, and that's what I do with what I'm doing. I would say, why don't you look at a corporate social responsibility and make sure as a school, because definitely you have all category of students in your school. Your first corporate social responsibility will be to put a certain percentage of money out of your profit down to provide support for these children, such that the fee you're charging because of the need of the student will not drive away those children, will not exclude those children, will not prevent them from learning. So those are some of my own personal ways I think we can solve these problems, and I'm open to more contribution from you all.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. So yes, well, I mean, government traditionally or should be in the business of supporting schools to provide additional services for schools. But to Titi's question, which is basically around how does a school on their own provide this particular services, you know, extensive services. One thing I know that has worked in a few places that I've been working with is to build partners. See, there's the power of partnership cannot be overemphasized. So there are a couple of what you can call, you don't have a win-win all the time, no matter, as long as there's no government support system, it's not 100% a win. But what we always say in inclusion is that, you know, be open-minded first and be ready to willing to accept. But partnerships is the key thing. So you want to partner with medical professionals, you want to partner with community service providers. You also want to invest honestly in special education because it does cost money. You have to have special educators. You have to have some kind of, all of the adjustments and accommodations that need to be done within your school system. Your teachers have to be well trained, and you also need to ensure that the school itself, understands the culture of inclusion, because that's key. Because if my child's walking into your school and nobody's looking at my child funny, that's a step one, right? Because that's a step one. And then what you want to do is look at those pain points and create an inclusion policy, because policy drives a lot of things within your school system. So the gate man knows to be smiley. The children around understand what a body system is, a peer review system is, the teachers understand what accommodations are, what it means to be reflective. There's just that whole ecosystem around building, creating support services to include children with special needs. And once you can tighten up your policy, tighten up your partnerships, ensure that you engage with therapy in all of these therapies, and then of course be an advocate. Be an advocate. Believe me, the universe will open up to you, and you'll have so much to share and to do as support. And then there's the business side of it as well.
Wow, thank you. Honestly,
well, to be honest, sorry if I can pop in here and just jump off on the back of what Rhoda said about the business side. The reality is, even people who are in school to do a business, as Rhoda just honestly beautifully highlighted, if, for example, because there's huge business capacity, especially with respect to special needs. I know it's not something that we want to say, oh, why are we making business out of it? But if we want to think about it even as a business,
yeah,
we have not even scratched the surface. If you have one special needs school that is truly top, and I don't like to think about it as a special needs school, because I believe that every single child needs a huge level of social interaction with everybody, because that is what truly will drive inclusion the way we want it to be. Yes, so we shouldn't have a special needs school, no. But if we do have schools that have inbuilt accommodations for every single child that comes our way, I believe that school would honestly climb to top line, because there's so many parents who are sitting there, they do not know what to do. When like I mentioned, my own experience when somebody came to my school and the experience the child had. I mean, when she told me the name of the school and the amount they were paying, I was stumped. Right, so even looking at it as a business, it's in our own best interest as school owners to have to run inclusive systems and actually take time to be intentional about the partnerships and about the accommodations that we can actually build into whatever system it is that we have in place. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to also add a perspective to this, because I think when we're talking about special needs, until this moment or until this point in time, we didn't have voices like Rhoda, Lola, Nana, etc. So it seems they just started waking up to the publicity of making sure inclusion is available to every school. I'll look at it from this point. If we have a scenario or we have a case where we have a pool of resources, right? We have maybe online resources or wherever center that has resources to support any or major forms of special needs we have in our environment. And that is almost like free for anybody to access and all that. It doesn't, the specialty might also come where you have to engage the services of somebody to do nitty-gritty work, but we need something like a pool of resources where anybody anywhere in the world can just walk into or browse online and download and at least read and get sensitized information on how to help anybody with special needs around them. Because now we are looking at having to pay a lot of professionals, right? Now, if teachers also have access to basic resources to even help those in their domain or in their class, that might also be a very good way to help people who are interested in even pushing their weight or their resources behind helping less professionals or people who are not too professional in the field. So having a pool of resources can also help promote the inclusion of students who need these resources to learn, who needs these resources to actually thrive in the society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally agree with you, Jude. Because even the technology aspect is important. That's why I talked about the whole partnerships and the pool of resources, like Jude highlighted. They're very, very key. There's an extensive accommodation adjustment plan that needs to happen. So that's what schools need to look into, and start to on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to let me ask one question before. Safety Chick, you said what?
I was saying that to reduce the cost on an individual school, it would really help if a group of schools can team up together to have that plan for children with special needs. So that maybe one school, maybe for instance, focus on those who were visually impaired. The other one could maybe focus on maybe those who have to use wheelchairs or something. It's just about agreeing, and coming up with a plan. So that way nobody feels the burden of the whole cost. Because the truth is, one of the things that scares a lot of school owners is the cost, the perceived cost. But you see, these are some of the things that are funded by international agencies. So it's all about you packaging your offerings. And if we all remember something I mentioned some weeks ago, I talked about how we must begin to incorporate social good or strategic good into whatever business we are doing. That way it helps to get support for the work that we are doing. And I have a question for Mrs. Anike. When you're
to be honest.
Okay, let's brother, hold on. Let's
quick one. To be honest. Okay. I was going to say, to be honest, we can't succeed without government. We can't succeed without government support. That's just the fact. And we need to amplify that voice here.
Okay, so let's quickly have the question. Safety Chick, we want to get to the comment section. And then I also have a question to ask Lola as well. So Safety Chick, quickly, your question in 10 seconds.
Okay, I'll just read it since I read it, so I'll meet in 10 seconds. For a parent dealing with 2 children with different developmental disabilities, in your opinion, how can they manage this appropriately? What are your top tips to help them manage it?
I think a lot of support will really help. And that's why we always say to parents, look, you are not a superstar, so to say. Like when you need help, you need to always seek for help. Speak out. I'll tell you one thing. I had this parent with us, and I realized that I knew she was a single parent, and well, because of this, the issue that her child was living with autism, she became a single parent. That's the father left them and all that, and it was tough on her. So the child was in and out of school, so he'll be around a week. Next week is not available, and that's where we also, as service providers, as school owners, need to pay attention beyond opening our doors to the students. You have to also check the background, what's happening at home, what's happening with the parent. Because I always say that when the parent is okay, so to say, mental state of mind of the parent is fine, then goes a long way in providing support for the child. So as that parent, learn to look for support system. Your family is first. So I said to her, and then she was also falling ill and all that because it was just too much for her. Find that support system. Your family, don't keep quiet, seek for help. You know, when you need help, your family comes first, your sisters, your mother, whatever it is. Just ensure that you have people around you so that you can have that me time, because it's a lot. Even if you have all the financial resources to provide the support for that child, you still need that place of finding your support system and finding a place to rest and just get yourself together. And then knowledge also helps. You know, for you to have 2 kids, I think it's something that you need to look into what exactly is going, what disability is, what special is, whatever the category that your kids are living with, and begin to find the strength, find which one needs more attention, set your priorities right, and above all, seek for support and help.
Totally.
Thank you so much.
Let me add one. Be your child's best advocate. Be your child's best advocate. Just like Lola said, know the condition. Be the expert, but be your child's advocate. You've got to say that your child is great. Your child is excellent. Your child can do. And amplify everything your child can do so that everybody sees that ability rather than the disability. So be your child's word. And like Lola said, another critical thing, find support groups. There are support groups. Believe me, you can start it and you can find people that need it. So that would be my addition.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, so let's have Lola as usual. Lola, please, I'd like you to do the honors to read our comments. We have fantastic comments from different people. So let's just have the comments.
Okay, government should be, Nana says, government should be the first support system when it comes to well-structured educational settings for children who need additional support. What everyone has said is valid, but without government support, it will be very challenging. A simple sensory room costs millions. In a country where the GDP is not high, parent groups, school owners, and educators can't be maximally effective. Very true, Nana. Thank you for that.
Totally.
Pamela Augustine says schools really need to look into actually including children with special needs. Some schools collect 100% school fees and also charge parents a separate fee for access to special education services. Now, that would work for some parents who can afford it, but what happens to parents who are struggling? It's really sad.
Lola, isn't that true? Lola, even when our children are in normal schools, right? What we call normal schools, like people say that because it's wrong to say that, very wrong. But it's very wrong to say that by. So, but in general education, for even children with special needs that pay full school fees, they're not getting the services that they require. So what are we saying?
You're very correct, brother, and I like the fact that you highlighted some of those points. You accommodation modification. When we talk about special needs, it's so deep that we need to take it right from the beginning so that it's all together. Because the truth is, in as much as we're clamoring for inclusive education, there's a background work to be done first. And what, like it rightly said, acceptance and understanding, because it's like it's what is a new. I mean, when you talk about education, inclusive school is a way to go, and everybody wants to be standard and inclusive school. Forgetting what it needs to be done at the background, because what I always say to people is, I'd rather you not say you're an inclusive school than outdoor students in those schools, and you're
Exactly.
just wasting their time and making them while they wait time with them. So I've been to certain settings when they don't even know what to do with these children. So I think the place of knowledge, acceptance, even when you collect that amount you're collecting, what are you really doing? Are you meeting the child's need, which is the ultimate reason we are clamoring for inclusion?
True. Gifted children, children who don't speak the language, children from a different background. And all of them, all of them are still
very important. Can I go on now?
Yes.
Okay. The KK says education partnership will build capacity for the inclusion in the education sector. Very true. Partnership, collaboration. It will help us. KK again says we need this sort of intervention in the space of policy. Very true. Yes, very true. Again, KK says, true, certain categories of children might be unable to access education due to their unique needs. Yeah. Again, KK, everything is a big deal with special needs. This is a demographic, especially in this part.
Why just kick me now?
That is so. This is a serious issue. I think the level of the both male and female education should be balanced. Okay, that was. Can you skip next?
Next.
Nana, I am a Kano individual, and support for students were not encouraging. I asked families that I know, and the general feedback was not impressive. That was one of the reasons why I was surprised when I found out that the exams were still going to happen. A particular cohort of students that I worry about are the ones who struggle with English, special education. There we go again.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. Temitope Lawa Oyawale says, why is it that gifted and talented children are not really treated as special in most schools?
God bless you.
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's a good question. You see, like I said earlier, in our colleges of education, some of the curriculum that we're taught to use does not even explain what this is all about. Because when it comes to children who are gifted and talented, there's several ways you can meet their needs. But when you're struggling with those who are special needs, how much it's like a tall order for you to actually meet the needs of those who are special. And that's why most schools will shy away from gifted and talented, because differentiation also is a big deal. How do you what are the strategies you're using for them to learn? You know, that's for them. When it comes to children with special gifted and talented, you need to think of differentiation that works. You know, if a child is able to use a particular and I think what we try to do in Nigeria is this issue of double promotion. I don't think that's the solution for children who are gifted. It's about harnessing their gift and helping them to, help them. They like critical thinking. Just think of all those 21st century skills and put it into your lesson plan, a lot of that, and so that you engage it, because most times they just tune up because their level of reasoning is far above what you're teaching in the classroom. And that's why it's important to think of differentiation as a big deal when you're working with children, particularly those children who are gifted and talented.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was my response, and I'm open to more input from any of us. Next comment, Mr. Rotimi. Am I live?
Yes, you are. I mean, Lola, I'm so happy about you and all your sharing and all of the issue around actually naming the groups and the categories within special education needs is very important, so that teachers can at least be able to say, oh, this is what it looks like. Oh, this is my first intervention, right? My first intervention. Teachers should be able to, which is why my belief that our teacher colleges should equip all teachers with special education courses, because you must teach a child special needs, whether you like it or not. they will be in your class.
True.
1 in 5 or 1 in 5 to 6 will have a form of disability or disorder or learning challenge, or it is, you don't have a choice. Call any teacher today, they will tell you that they have a child who has additional needs, whether it's of giftedness, where there's a disruptive behavior, there's possibly an ADHD, or of one that needs physical changes, structural changes, the general adjustment, and things like that, and accommodations. Every teacher has that child in their classroom. So what is happening then with our special education course, with our teacher colleges? Why are we not meeting those needs? Why can't we map back and say, this is exactly what every teacher needs? Hence, I must equip you with the categories, I must equip you with the nomenclature, I must equip you with the skills required, and I must equip you with...
Actually, what you're saying is,
the fire exercise has relocated to Rhoda.
Mr. Rotimi, can I just quickly chip this in? I hate to sound like this, whenever I like to observe people a lot. I just like to observe and listen to educators talk. And when people stand up and say, oh, I'm a special educator, they look at you like, oh, what do you know? And I hear people say a lot of things like, it's not like a second, like you're seeking for an admission and then you didn't get something else and they gave you totally, they gave me special needs. But when I look at how I was trained as special educator, things that general education teachers are making a big deal about, like, oh, let's talk about Bloom's taxonomy, let's talk about all of these things, are things that we were taught as special educators. Like, these are things that are at your fingertips. And that's why it took me, that the book in your hand, since you read that book, and I bet, like, when I put that book down, my thought was, how do I help educators? How do I make this information as simple as possible? And I'm sure when you read that book, and I'm not trying to make any noise, as a matter of fact, I don't mind giving it out for free if you ask me to, because I want that knowledge out there. And to know that you're a curriculum theorist, look at our curriculum, look at the College of Education. Most of them feel like, oh, there's nothing to do, that's why I do special education. They don't even have the knowledge. And these are the people we put into schools. These are the graduates that government put into school to provide special education support. That's so heartbreaking. So for those who have not even, there are some teachers who did not even go to College of Education, because I know that some schools, okay, we just maybe probably people are, because of the gap in the employment labor market, we have a lot of graduates from different fields. But if we're going to do anything as school owners, as educators, we have to seek for knowledge. And the truth is that there are a lot of information out there, a lot. You might not be able to sieve it to what you're looking for, to point you in the right direction. And that's one thing that I know that I did with that book. Special Ed Made Easy. It opens your mind, it helps you to answer the questions, and also helps you to look for more information because it points you in the right direction.
Lola, I want to ask a question, and this is piggyback on what Rhoda said. So for the educators that are out there, and she's right, in every class, whether they call it special needs or not, you most likely have someone. You most likely have someone. So what's your advice, to a teacher, to an educator in a class right now, saying, what just to say where you get 3 top tips to parents, what 3 or 4 top tips will you give to the educator out there to say, look, this is what you should do to be more, to handle this special needs in your class, even if you've not been trained. But these are my 3 tips to you. So that 1, you can identify, 2, you can also accommodate, and there's one other number that Rhoda used. So accommodate and I can't use my own embrace. Yes. So what would you say?
The thing is, when you don't know if you don't know what you're looking for, you won't know how to provide the support. And when you talk about special needs, it is right. You might have a child with autism and you think the child is living with communication impairment, you might think the child is living with Down syndrome. You need to first know identification. So if as a teacher, what you first need to do is, what are the categories of special needs? Find information. Lots of free courses are online, really. I actually do those courses to refreshers courses. Go online, type disabilities, type special needs, and you see that several refresher courses are courses that will help you understand the first place of identification. Now, once you've identified that, don't look at it as a big deal. Identification first, and then accept and tell yourself, for me to be a teacher, and my job is to teach, and I want to teach every child. What are the skills this child will be requiring? And I keep saying it again that you need to find out from that identification, find out exactly what is going on with that child. But I don't want to water down this, because it's more like saying, as a medical doctor, that we have different kind of health issues. And I won't ask you to, okay, because you're an educator, because I'm a GP, I want to be able to treat heart diseases or brain disease and all of that. Because it's a delicate issue. That has to do with also health. You need to understand the various categories. You need to understand your own place. Where do I come in? Now, if I'm planning to accommodate a child who has severe speech impairments, what will be my own job? Will my job be to support the speech therapy? Because whether we like it or not, special education has to do with several related service providers. You might need a speech therapist, you might need an occupational therapist, you might need a physical therapist, you might need different professionals. But your own place as an educator is, when it comes to learning, what should I do? Yes, you need to differentiate. What should I do? You need to accommodate. What does this child need? So understanding what the child needs and where you can come in based on what you are prepared to teach that child will help you to provide this basic support the child will be needing. There's something we call response to intervention. And what that simply means is, and it's like a normal thing we all do in schools, but we need to take it more seriously, where you have like a 3-tier kind of funnel, where when you get into your class, you want to check how are your students doing, who are those that have peculiar needs, can I really meet this need, is this something that, because like we know, it has severity, we have the moderate, the mild, and the severe. If it's a severe case, tell yourself the truth, because you might not be able to provide that support. For example, behavior management, you might need a behavior analyst to look at into that severe behavior issue, because when the behavior is not put in place, you might not be able to help that child. You just get frustrated. So it's not only about the teacher yourself. Sometimes you might need more support, because, for example, if I have 2 kids in my class who have behavioral challenges, no matter the form of accommodation I put in, and I say, oh, look, I'm going to give you extra time, or I'm going to do this, I need to be able to help that child to understand why is that child behaving the way it's behaving, and find alternative means, which is also a part of accommodation. But if you're not trained on what behavior management should be, or if you have a professional who will be able to analyze what that behavior is and the function of the behavior, you might not be able to put all of those support in place for that child. So it's all about opening your mind, knowing what is going on, asking for help, looking for those professionals that will help you put things in place. And that's the holistic view also. When we're talking about inclusion, remember that it's not about the classroom teacher alone. It's not about the special needs teacher alone. It's about different service provider depending on the need of the child. But for learning to take place, you need to understand what the need is, and then seek for other support system. And as an educator, you need to know where you come in when it comes to teaching that child and ensuring that learning takes place.
Okay, I'll add quickly. I know I run out of time, but I'll add to you. Thank you so much, Lela. You touched on everything. I like to say advocacy a lot, and I know the reason why I say it is because, you know, we need to make sure that these children are advocated for. And then if you're a teacher, one top tip from me or from Rhoda, advocate for that child. One thing that you can do not underestimate these children, because sometimes a diagnosis by a doctor can be helpful, and it is always helpful very early in the life of a child with any form of disability. But it can also be a self-fulfilling prophecy that unfairly conditions that child to believe in limits that may not entirely exist. So we need to, do not underestimate that child, advocate for that child, and instill social skills. Well, you know what? Make sure that every child in their class does not see them different. Maybe that's your number one job. And then, because from my own personal story, when I was my first connection with the child, when I started teaching, my first connection with special, it was a child struggling with reading, you know, and at the time I had not even given birth to my own daughters. And at this time, you know, this child could not read, but the child could comprehend, and that was my entry. Immediately I distinguished between reading and comprehension. That child never failed in my English class, not because he couldn't read. So I knew what to do. And I advocated, and I got audio versions of their stories, and I had him listen, and I advocated in the school. This boy can comprehend. I want to test him on comprehension. I want to be able to get him to get some scores here. And that's what I did. You know, so advocate. Do not underestimate. Yes. Equip with social skills. Yes. Very critical. So nobody looks at them.
Rhoda, thank you for advocacy. You know, I would say advocacy is a very important thing to do when it comes to children, and that's what that's the best thing to do. But the thing is, before advocacy, and I'm thanking you for your own point, because you sought for knowledge. Rhoda, you need to understand the difference with what was going on and what the skills the child had. So there's one thing, because I've seen people advocating wrongly also. Do you get? So someone is advocating for a child living with autism to get benefit of a child living with Down syndrome. Do you understand? So that understanding of what is going on will give you the right kind of way to advocate for the child. And I'm saying it because of the experience I've seen. Rhoda, you see, you are speaking from the point of view of this is what I did because of my mindset and what I know, the knowledge you have and all of that, you know. But the thing that I've seen, and I always like to back up to our reality here in Nigeria, a lot of people want to advocate, they want to do good, but the foundation. I'll give you an example. So I was at an awareness program where we did some time ago, and it was called Walk and Dance for Autism. And I had service providers right in front of me. This was an awareness and advocacy program where someone was saying, autism is for adults, ADHD is for children. They were advocating. So knowledge and identification of what is going on, because these things are wide. What is going on? Once I understand that, and from the point of understanding and empathy, I can advocate for the right thing for that child. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. I'm bringing it back to our level. In other places where it's already known, advocacy is key, but understanding knowledge and separating what is what to be able to advocate our right is very important also.
You know what I'm advocating for? I'm advocating for the fact that you're always going to be here every week now. So I'm advocating that you calm down with your fire and let's not roast and turn it into toast. I'm advocating that you relax. I'm advocating that you allow us to have the show. I'm advocating that you allow me say something before the show ends. I'm advocating that you allow me speak about your 2 books that I have in my hand. The first one is Special Needs Made Easy and Mastering Autism. Titi, you like what's in my hand, I'm sure. But you have to share your alert for me to share the book. All right. Okay, so it's been a great time. I've actually just been soaking it in, and I love the fact that it was just a very good duo where we have Rhoda bringing the soft part of it and bringing the inclusion advocates voice, and then Lola bringing the fiery part and the powerful part of it. And Keke is just acting like, those fans at the side of the pitch, just raving, taking grapes and drinking grapes. And Ugochi is just laughing like she's having a comedy concert. And Jude is just sitting like Mr. Miyagi of Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And of course, Titi is just basking in front. You guys finish. I want to go and spend my money, spend that money, And Eben is lost in Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've learned something. Thank you to our audience, fantastic audience. In fact, you know what? It will be wrong if I don't specially thank Nana, not just because of the beautiful mugs that we get to drink tea and get inspired from that. If you drink tea with that mug, trust me, you will be inspired. I don't know how it is, whether it's a Nanacious effect or, trust me, I recommend tea in the morning with a good morning education mug. It will just turn it into a great experience. But Nana has always been giving us comments, and I think we should give her ovation. If you don't mind, please just clap for Nana. Because, sometimes it's one thing to join, is another thing to engage meaningfully. And she gives us research. Sometimes she gives us statistics. In fact, with the power vested in me and with the backup of the Republic of KK, I think we need to force Nana to join the show this week, maybe on Friday or something. Nana, we're bringing you. You can't run, you can't hide. We're bringing you in. If we need a private jet, we're bringing you in. And of course, we need to thank those who keep on joining. Temitope Lawal, fantastic conversation today. Would like to thank Pamela Augustine. Pamela, fantastic contribution. Would like to thank Favor. Favor, in fact, Favor should win attendance of the week. Favor is just once you go live, Favor is live. I'm wondering what's happening to the excellent teacher. That's a challenge to the excellent teacher. I'd like to thank Olabisi Abimbola. I would like to thank Abigail Solomon. She's actually meant to sing us out of the show today with a song, This Little Light of Mine. We have fantastic people. Ifyok, our ambassador from the UAE. Awesome. Ifyok. And there's sometimes some people who do not, how do I put it now? There's some people who do not always come online, but they are always online. They're with us in spirit and they watch the replay. So for all our friends, our partners, for all our fans and tribe all across the world, we would like to thank you on this special Tuesday. And of course, this is the time where we'll draw curtains as we say our last words. Please understand that you could watch this And then as you look at the scroll under the screen, you will see our handles. You can follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. In fact, most of us, our contacts, our names are actually our handles. So please do something about that. Follow us to get more. The Good Morning Education Facebook page is live, and you can get more information on that page. You can interact with us on that page. Lola has books, and the ones that I'm privileged to be holding are just part of the books. She has the Special Needs Easy, she has the Mastering Autism, she has a lot, and you can order. KK has an administrative course. You can subscribe to that. And of course, Rhoda also has some fantastic things she's been cooking. And I'm sure that cooking is just going to lead into some buffet of some knowledge of some sort. And of course, Jude is there. And of course, Titi is just coding away and decoding away through technology and alerting away through technology. And Safety Chick is sharing some fantastic things about building a global brand. She's been to Germany, she's been to South Africa, she's been to US, she's been to both in spirit and in mind and in real life. So she's doing fantastic stuff. And you need to, and trust me, if everyone is doing all this, I'm cooking a storm as well. Trust me, guys. And that storm you don't want. Trust me. Titi has dared me, and I'm up for the game. Trust me. From now, you begin to see stuff from all of us, and we want to thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a great time. We spent over an hour with you today, but we're back tomorrow. We're back tomorrow, same time, 8 a.m. And tomorrow is going to be legit. It's going to be fire. So take care. And we're saying our bye-byes. We're saying our bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And thank you. Yeah, bye. 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 Bye.